Hello everyone, it's Michelle Gilmartin here, and we are continuing on with Technique Tuesday and the Upgrade 3 features for the Baby Lock Solaris and the Brother Luminaire. So this is the one I was the most excited about, and they added edge-to-edge quilting. So let's talk about what's different. If you buy an edge-to-edge design, then you have to calculate how many across, how many down, and what size to use so that you don't, run over the edges, or you have to stop, stitching so that it doesn't run over the outline on your outer edges. This is amazing because the machine does all that calculating for you, and it actually sizes the designs to fit in the area that you want to use. So for my little sample quilt today, I'm just using just a smaller piece, 14.25 inches wide by 17.25 inches tall. And that was just a random number. It was just whatever size fabric I cut. But the beautiful thing about this is you can go up to 118 inches wide by 118 inches long. And the machine is going to take care of all of the repositioning for you. So let's see how fabulous this is. So I'm going to go to the section that houses my auto split quilt sashing patterns. And if you did the update before the upgrade, you'll notice that you now got a new picture in that little category. You didn't get the designs though. You don't get those till the upgrade. I thought that was kind of a nice teaser. All right, so underneath that topic, you also have a new category number 4, and that's where our edge-to-edge quilting designs are. So let's take a look at them. There are 10, and they are all pretty cute. I used this one this weekend to do a baby quilt. These two down here on the bottom there's some pretty intense stitching. These are pretty heavily quilted. So I don't know, maybe, even a kind of a trapunto kind of look, I guess. Just very, very dense. This one is fun. It's very kind of geometric. This one is just rambling. But look at these flowers. Look at how pretty they are. And the leaves. And we have a sewing themed one. And we have some stars. And today we're going to use the snowflakes. So once I've selected my design, I can select set. And I'm going to have to enter in some information so that the machine can figure it out for me. So the first one is going to be how wide I am. And I am I'm going to put in 14 instead of 14.25. And I like to leave just a little bit of space. I do this with the auto split quilt sashing too, just a little bit of wiggle room so that my design doesn't run over the line where I'm going to put my binding, right? Okay, so I'm just going to leave that in. And then down here, for number 2, I'm going to put in 17 instead of 17 1/4. All right, the next thing, see, it must have hit clearance in a set. How did that happen? Let's see here. There we go, 14, 17, okay. And I'm selecting the 9.5 by 14 inch hoop, which is what I'm going to be using for this. I'm going to go ahead and select set there, we're good, 9.5 by 14. Now, this is what I thought was really interesting. You have a flip option. So what that means is when you connect, when your designs connect. If you look at this, star, snowflake, star, snowflake, star, snowflakes, it's the same pattern repeating in the same direction. The connection points are the same in the same location, all the way across. But what if I want to mix it up a bit? So now I have a different connection type where it just mirror imaged the second one. I have this where it mirror images and rotates. Or I have this one where it's just a little bit different. And this one was the one I kind of liked the most. So I'm going to stay with that rotation and select OK. And then I'm going to select next. All right. So now the machine is telling me that using my 9.5 by 14 inch hoop on this quilt, that sample, I'm going to have a total of 6 hoopings. And this is the way it's going to have me hoop. It's going to go across this way, then I'm going to start over on the left side again and go across, and then I'm going to start on the left side and go across. So it's showing me how the transition of my designs is going to go. Down here, I've got a single running stitch or a triple stitch. I'm going to stay with the single running stitch, and I am going to make the design, I'm going to use a darker color thread just so that I can see it really good with the camera when I go to put the camera on, when the projector opens up. And then like the other, like our auto split quilt sashing designs, you have to save it to the memory. All right, so I'm going to go over to my memory, and I can tell that this is my design because it looks different than the other designs, and I can see that it has 6 pieces. So I'm going to click on that. So if I wanted to use just the projector and just match all these pieces myself, I could do that. That's what all these little pieces are. If I want the machine to do the work for me, I want to pick the first one. So guess what? I want the machine to do the work. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the first one and then select set. And the machine is going to prompt me through all of the steps to make this happen for me. So it says begin sewing from the upper left corner of the fabric. Attach the embroidery frame in the initial sewing position. So I'm going to say okay. And I'm going to go ahead and put my hoop on. All right, so the first position that I am going to have to look at for this is the upper left corner. So I'm going to say okay, and the carriage is going to move. Okay, and then let's see what we have up here. So I can see that there's my design. Let me turn the light down on the machine a bit, and you might be able to see that a little bit better. All right, I can't do anything about the rainbow effect, but that should be a little bit easier to see. So there's my pointer. Here's the edge of my my design here. So let me go ahead and move that up a little bit. I'm going to leave just a little tiny bit of space between my edges. So you can see it's not a lot, maybe a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch probably, but I want to make sure that I have enough room on my edges, and I like to leave at least 1/4 of an inch of leeway. All right, so I've done that. I've positioned it in the upper corner where I'm going to go. So I'm going to say okay on the machine. The next thing it's going to give me is, just in case I didn't hoop straight, it's going to ask me to use the rotate keys to adjust the angle of the pattern while keeping an eye on the points around the pattern. So let's say okay, and let's see what I have up here. All right, so I can see that I'm perfect really there. So let me show you across. My pointer is in the same place everywhere, all the way across that line that I drew. All right, so let's see how it's looking along the sides. So if I come down here, I still have a margin here. Let's see if I go to the bottom. Oh, look at my margin's getting a little bit smaller. So I am going to use the rotate keys to kind of move that a little bit. And then I'll try it again. I'll go up. That looks a little bit better. And let's see how that looks. Nah, that's too much. So let's... So I'm just using the little rotate keys to do this. All right, that's better. I'm good with that now. I have about equidistance of space on my left-hand side margin. All right, so I'm going to select OK. Let's see what's next. Ooh, what's next is just sewing it out. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a thread here because I'm going to pull up my thread. I'm going to touch my needle plus minus and open up over to now point 1. Do needle down, needle up. Pull that bobbin thread up. And if I'm going to zoom in here because you can see that I managed to maintain that margin between where my line was drawn and where my needle dropped. I want a little bit of a margin there. And of course, when I made my little quilt sandwich here, I made sure that I gave myself at least 4 inches all the way around where my hoop is going to go. Now you get to choose the hoop size that you're actually going to use to do the project with. You have a selection of different hoops that you can select from. You can use your snap hoops. You can use any of the hoops that came with your machine. You can use the wonderful new 10 by 10 magnetic hoop from Brother. You just need to put in the sewing dimensions when you go to select the size so that the machine knows what you're going to be hooping with and it doesn't give you a piece that won't fit in that hoop. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pause the camera until this is almost done, and I'm gonna bring the camera back on for you to see my favorite thing about this. It's gonna give me a match point for the second row. Hang on. All right, it's finishing the first part. So there's my connection point, but it's also going to come down here and it's going to sew out this little arrow for me. The little arrows are going to allow me to see where I want to align the second row. It's really sweet. And they come out, they're basting stitches, they come right out, but look at that. You have to see that adorable little arrow. Look at that. So I know that when I position the second row that that's my drop point for this bottom row. But let's see where we're going right now. All right, so the embroidery is finished. Is it okay to connect the next pattern? And I'm going to say yes, it is okay. So it's going to ask me to rehoop, and I'm going to pause the camera while I do that. All right, I'm rehooped, so I'm going to select okay. So now what it's going to tell me is I'm going to move the key first. The first place I'm going to move is to match the connection point. And so it moves over there, and I'm going to use my keys here, my arrow keys, to match up my connection point. All right, so right now I have it like right over the X. And I'm just gonna test. Sometimes that's hard to see. I'm just gonna do needle down, needle up, and it drops right smack in the point where it's supposed to drop. All right, so I am done with that. I'm gonna say okay. The next thing is that it wants me to select is I'm gonna make sure that I hoop straight, because remember, I don't have to hoop straight, as the machine's gonna take care of rotating it. So it's gonna have me check the position around the top. All right, so here we are up here at the top, and I can see that I might want to swing this down a little bit because it's getting kind of close to my line up here. I'd like to maintain a little bit. All right, so there's that. Let me go back over here. So far, so good. All right, going back to the top here, see where we're at. Still have a little bit of a margin there and a little bit of a margin there. So I think I'm good to go. Let's see how we do. So I'm gonna do needle plus minus again so I can advance to the first stitch. Watch this. Bam, right exactly in the last place where I left off. I'm gonna get close enough so you can see that. So it dropped right in the match point. And then I'm just gonna push go. I'll let it sew a few stitches, and then I'm gonna cut my tails. And I'm gonna go ahead and run this until it gets close to the end again. right, I'm back and I'm hooped. I'm gonna stay okay. Again, I'm gonna match the match point first. So I'm gonna swing it over here. Here's my match point, there's my X. And just to be sure, I'm going to do the needle down, needle up. And I think I'm going to go over that one more. Let's see. That looks perfect to me. All right, so let's see now what else I have to do. I'm going to say okay. All right, so now it's going to ask me to do two things because this is the last of my top row. I'm going to check for the rotation again. This is just like I did the second hooping because I'm not using stickers or anything, the machine, or snowman markers. The machine is prompting me. So I'm going to use the rotate keys to make sure that I'm level at the top, and then I want to see what my distance is over on my far right side. So I'm going to say okay. And let's see. My measurement so far is looking pretty good. I know that's a little hard to see there. That's a little better. And then I'm going to just go down that side and see how we're doing. Wow, looking pretty good there. Oop, I need to swing it in just a little bit there. Oops, swing it in the other way. I just want to leave myself a little bit of a margin. Okay, and I am not going to resize this. I think the sizing's perfect. I have a slight margin over there. I'm ready to just stitch. So let's see where we go. Okay, and I'm going to do my needle plus minus to advance one stitch. And I'm right at that drop point. Look at how that little crosshair lined back up. I think one of the things to mention too is you might be tempted to, use the placement for the center. Once you've aligned this, don't judge that. Don't keep second guessing yourself. If you did this first, it's going to be fine. And there we go. And I'll come back when it's done. All right, there's my end. And look at that. I still have a little bit of a margin from my line. Isn't that great? Okay, here's my little arrow. Okay, so let's see what message I get now. Oh, it's even giving me one for the other side as well. So there's my two little arrows. All right, this one's finished. So what am I going to do next? I am going to take it and go all the way over. The first row's finished, all the way over. Look at those little arrows. To start with the next row, rehoop the fabric to the left edge of the next row while including the thread marks of the upper pattern. So I want to make sure that I can utilize, in other words, I want enough fabric at the top of my hoop that I can utilize those arrows for my next placement. So I will go hoop and I'll be right back. All right, let's see. So I'm going to be using the pattern keys to align the upper left corner of the pattern area with the lower left thread mark. And it gave me a little red mark here to use so that I know what needs to align with this. See, I've got that corner, even though it doesn't have a corner. There we go, right there. So that mark right there is going to come down and align with that little arrow. Look at that. How cool is that? All right, so let's see. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to do it again for the other side. Let's see. I did okay. And then now I'm gonna use the rotate keys to adjust the angle so that the other corner hits that other mark. Look at that. It's right spot on. Wow. Well, maybe like one. We should at least try to have to move it a little bit, right? All right, let's see what we got. Thread my needle. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to do needle plus minus and advanced 1 so that I can get to my drop point. And then just start stitching. Oops. Let's pull the bobbin thread up, right? I may have gone too far for that. Let's see. Will it let me pull it up? Yep, it will. Look at that perfect placement. Gotta love those little arrows, right? All right, I'm going to rehoop down the center, leaving enough space to get those little arrows in there. All right, ready to go here. So the first thing I'm going to do is close the, there we go. Make sure the hoop's all the way on there. And I am going to match up my match point first. So here's my match point. There's my little X. I got to bring it all the way down here. And then over this way. Oops, up a little bit. And I'm just going to do a little test here by putting my needle down and up to see if I hit the hole, and I do. You can pull up your bobbin thread if you want, but the hoop's going to move, so you'll likely have to do it again. All right, so I matched my match point. Let's see what's next. Okay, so I have to match up with the arrow that's over on this side and check the bottom here to make sure that it goes all the way down to the bottom. So let's see. Let me do okay. Ooh, I'm pretty close to that little arrow. Let's see. All right. And then let's see how I'm doing down here. let's see how I'm doing at the bottom. Ooh, looks like I'm pretty good down here. I don't have to change sizes at all. And I'm back over at my perfect match point. So that wasn't hard, huh? This is row number 2. And I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And then I'm going to needle plus minus to move over to my drop point and press go. So this is just a little sample to show how the program works. But if you want to, you can leave these long enough so that you can pull them back down when you're done. All right, I am going to get ready to do the very last hooping. So let's see what I'm going to do. I'm going to rehoop, I bet. Yep, I'm going to rehoop. I'm going to use those little arrows again at the top to make sure that the top of my next design aligns up here, the rotate keys, and also check not only if it's long enough at the bottom, but if it's wide enough at the side. So let me go rehoop and we'll be right back. All right, here we go. I'm looking for the match point first. So here's my X, here's my match point. So what's nice is the program did resize the designs for me. And if I look at the size of the design as I'm sewing, I know that the second row is shorter, you know, in distance from here to here. But it didn't squash the design together. It actually resized it so that it actually fits. So you're not like squishing it and distorting how it looks. All right, just gonna double check the placement there. I'm gonna move over just a little bit more. Let's see that one. I like that one better. I'll just leave the bobbin thread out since I've already got it out there. And then I'm gonna select OK. All right, so now I'm looking for placing this corner in this corner, making sure that it's wide enough here and long enough there. So let's see how we do. Seems like it doesn't matter where I move the camera. It gets like brighter and darker. All right, so I'm gonna say okay. And ooh, this guy's gotta come in a little bit. So I'm going to use, this guy's right on my line. I like a little bit of a margin. So let's see how we're going to fix that. I need to make it a little bit narrower. So this like squeezes it just a touch. And a little bit more. And now that matches up with that line. All right. So I'm going to come down the side here. And I can see that I do need to rotate it a little bit. Oh, and I can see I'm just a little bit long here. I like to have just a little bit more margin there. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to shorten it from the bottom a little bit. All right. So let's see how I do. That looks pretty good. That looks really good. All right. So I am done. I'm going to go ahead and select needle plus minus. I'm going to go ahead and press go because I already have it all lined up. So you can keep these strings longer if you want and then just pull them back. This is just a little sample, so I don't care. So this was just a brief overview of what you can do with the edge to edge. Again, you have 10 designs. Purchase designs do not work in this specific program. So you have the 10 designs that are built in. The same 10 designs are built on both the Solaris and the Luminaire. It's a good variety for most quilts that you'll do. It was easy for me to pick one for a baby quilt. and so efficient for you to manage, up to 118 by 118 inches. That's a huge quilt. That's like almost at least the top of a king-size bed, I would guess. So, and I will be back in just a moment to show you the finished sample. All right, so here's my finished little project. 14 1/4 wide, 17 1/4 down. Nothing went over the line that I drew. I gave myself that 1/4 inch margin. And look at those cute little arrows. Those are my match points for the second row. And I'll get those for every row I have to add. So even though these designs up here were a little bit taller, they don't look like they were squashed together. So the moral of the story here is you really want upgrade 3. I hope you enjoyed this.